All right, Aaron back here again with the Lynx Raspberry Pi version 2 project, and I am going to go ahead now and put this LCD screen into the Lynx case. Probably the more important part to have, I guess, right? Without a screen, you can't do a whole lot of anything. So the last video, I just kind of went over how to connect up the screen to the Pi, and I did a quick test, and unfortunately I noticed that screen had a little bit of kind of like a light spot or like a blooming going on the right-hand half of the screen. Luckily I have another one of these screens in my inventory, so I just went ahead and swapped it out and wired back up the same way. So just kind of a quick recap here. We've got our LCD screen, it's a 3.5-inch composite, just a cheap backup camera one from Amazon, and we wired the leftmost connector here to green, which is positive, and then the right is ground, or the one to the right of it is ground, and then this third connector is AV input, and this is another AV input. I've grounded out this AV input, which is what that little jumper is, and then this AV input actually goes to our Pi. I've also bypassed the internal voltage regulation using this little jumper, and the main reason for that is because these screens a lot of times are designed to run on 12 volts, so they have a voltage regulator that kicks things down from 12 volts to 5 volts. So our whole Pi system here is only going to run on 5 volts, and what will happen is a lot of times is these screens will just start flickering or blanking out very randomly if there's problems with that voltage regulation, because you're trying to regulate 5 volts down to 5 volts, and nothing, unfortunately, is that awesome or efficient. So now what we're going to do is we are not going to drop things and break them. That would be bad. So what we've got is our Lynx top shell, which is kind of gutted and ready to go. And the back side here, we've already removed the factory panel, and which comes out these 4 points. And we're going to go ahead and just drop in this LCD and hot glue it in place. This is a really easy one because the nice thing is you kind of have these two screw posts right up top here and 2 on the bottom, and the top posts I just kind of use as your guide. They literally just you run the LCD right up to it and stick it in place. So you just kind of just drop this right in here, kind of in the middle, and that just butts up right to those. So the nice part is now let's go ahead and take a look. We'll flip this guy around here, be very mindful of our wires. And what we're going to want to do is just check ever so carefully for the kind of silver edge. And see, as we kind of slide this screen, you'll see the silver edge will appear or disappear more. And what we'll want to do is just very carefully make sure that screen, you don't see the edges at all. Now, unfortunately, these screens are a little bit taller than the factory screen, so you're actually going to get a little bit of like video cut off, so you can adjust the resolution a tiny bit in the actual software to compensate for that. Or if you wanted to, you could cut up the bezel a little bit, and I just don't like to do that. I like leaving it pretty factory, and honestly, I don't miss the little bits of pixels that are cut off. It might drive some people nuts, and again, software can fix that. So let's go ahead, and we've got this nicely aligned. The nice part is the sticky is still on there from when this was in the case, so it holds it in place kind of nice, just temporary and tacks it. So I'm just going to be careful here. And let's move that around. All right, so it looks pretty well lined up. So we'll just take our trusty hot glue gun, which I'm running kind of high temperature hot glue, which is stronger. And I just kind of dab a nice bit on the top corners here. Kind of hold it in place against those posts. I'll do one in the middle. And kind of come down to the side, do the same thing. And you don't really have to hold it in place too much because it's sticking pretty well. You might wonder, hey, wait a second, what about all those little fuzzies and things between the screen and the lens? Aren't those going to be stuck in there now? No. The nice part about the Lynx is we can still pop the bezel out and give it and the screen a good cleaning. So we just leave that in place right now. So we're going to just hot glue this bottom, maybe a little bit by that post. You know, that would be actually a really cool thing to do, a 3D print a little bracket for these. Again, another toy that I need to save up for. So we'll give that a nice glue down there. And I am not going to put anything by the ribbon, just because I don't feel like melting anything today. What I am going to do, and this is actually really a good idea, is take these 3 wires that are sitting right here. And I'm going to hot glue them right to the frame here of the LCD. And the reason I'm doing that is because they're soldered in, and every time you're moving the LCD around and everything, you're weakening those wires in that connection, and the last thing you want is for all your hard work to just come unsoldered and snap off. So I always basically do a little bit of strain relief there with a hot glue, and that helps. Kind of letting this stuff dry, well, not dry, but cool. It takes a while. Speaking of the strain relief stuff, we're probably going to want to do that underside on our pie too. I'm not going to do that right now, and that's the reason for that is because as I kind of do some dry fitting and testing, I have to move things around, and I want to make sure that everything is in the position I want it before I glue it. So you can see that this is already all nicely set up. So now when we have this guy will sit like this, and then my pie will be underneath here. So this guy will be sitting like this here. Let me get my bottom shell. Lots of test fitting when you do these projects. So you can see the bottom shell is going to fit in just like this. So I'll move my hands out of the way. But you can see that it'll nicely line up. You got a little bit of slack in the wiring there. So you can easily, we can just do a quick test fit here. I'll bolt it together. And you know, hey look, now we have an LCD in here. And well, hey, you know, it's kind of loose in there, so why not power it up? Power it up all the time. Make sure everything works. And it is not showing up. And I'll tell you why it's not showing up, because I took the SD card out. It was one of those did you plug it in moments. And the Lynx, of course, has a really nice locking, like it fits together and locks really well, so kind of actually fairly secure even without screws. So we'll go put our SD back in, do our test bit. Plug our oversized power bank. Alright, we got the rainbows. And there we go. So look at that. We got a pie on the loose. So now it boots up, and there's no blooming on this side right here, which there was before. So that's good. And that looks really nice and clean. And like I said, you can tell just a tiny bit that there's some text down there. It's kind of cut off a little bit. And we can adjust that later on. But yeah, no, that looks good. And of course, it's all washed out in the camera. But on the unit, it looks fantastic. All right, so moving on now, the next part of the project is going to be to actually wire up the GPIO pins to the Atari Lynx Flex circuit, which is the whole control panel piece, which basically is your game controls.